Good morning, students. Welcome back to your economics class with your economics teacher Lakshmi Vyas. Today we'll start a chapter which is structural changes in the Indian economy after liberalization. It's a long chapter. There are three important parts of the chapter: liberalization, privatization, and globalization. And today we will discuss liberalization. So let's start. First of all, let us see the area of discussion. We'll start our discussion with a brief introduction. Then we will move toward need for the economic reforms, like why we required these reforms. Then the policy of liberalization. Under that policy, we'll discuss the meaning of the policy, basic features, and the significance. So, here we go. First of all, what is economic reform? So, economic reforms means the fundamental change that were launched in 1991 with the plan of liberalizing the economy and the quicken its rate of economic growth. In the year 1991, it's a very important year. The year 1991 marks a watershed in the process of growth of the Indian economy. Since 1991, there has been a major change in the strategies of development, and this has come to be known as new economic policy, or some common people commonly call it as economic reform. This new economic policy was based upon three major policy measures. What are they? The very first is policy of liberalization, the second one is policy of privatization, and the third one is policy of globalization. Liberalization was characterized by liberalization of the Indian economy from various types of controls, licensings, permits, which regulated the different sectors of the nation. The policy of privatization basically means expansion of the private sector and limiting the role of public sector. The third one, globalization, was the policy of opening up the economy to the other economies of the world. So, the new economic policy has three broad components, popularly known as LPG. The new policy has resulted in remarkable changes, like in aggregate as well as structural, in the Indian economy. So, let us discuss why we needed this reform. Need for the economic reform. Why there was requirement of reform in the economic process. Reform means forming it again. So, in the economic conditions, why the changes were required? The very first reason was weakness of the pre 1991 policies. Requirement of 1991 policy, before that the condition was very bad. All those policies such as low rate of economic growth, rising unemployment, stagnation in the rate of domestic savings and investments. Stagnation means stagnant plus inflation. Stagnation means constant, means the rate was constant and very low as well. There was no growth rate, there was no acceleration. Infrastructure was inadequate. So industrial licensing policy was there, growth of monopolies were there. So there prevailed certain crises like condition in 1990 and 1991, like foreign exchange crisis, pressure of World Bank, and all these pushed India toward liberalization and globalization. So all the policies before 1991 were weak, and that is why we needed a reform in the policy. The second one is major foreign exchange crisis. It's very important topic. Why there was foreign exchange crisis in the nation? In India, in the year of 1991, Indian economy faced an acute shortage of foreign exchange. Why so? There are many reasons. The first reason, the immediate cause of foreign exchange crisis was war between the Gulf countries of Iraq and Kuwait in 1990 and 91. And because of that, oil prices raised, and as a result, oil import bill went up substantially. And as a result, we had to pay more for oil since we were depending upon them. Secondly, India's external debt has increased over time. External debt means when Indian government borrows from other nations or international monetary funds and World Bank kind of institutions, and that is called external debt. And in Indian economic condition, the external debt was huge and it was continuously rising, because in order to pay the old debt, India was taking a fresh debt, and as a result, this huge external debt was also having an impact, and as a result, the World Bank was not accepting further fresh debts for Indian economy. The third reason, foreign exchange in the form of NRI deposit was being withdrawn very rapidly because of the political instability and uncertainty at home. And the last fourth one cause was growth in the import. Growth in import was too much and higher than the growth in export. This led to deficit in the current account of balance of payment. Balance of payment is a systematic record where we record all the imports and exports of goods, services, money, income, all imports and export of one particular nation with rest of the worlds are noticed. And in that balance of payment, there was deficit. Deficit means imports were more and exports were less. And India had to depend upon the foreign loans to cope up with this deficit, and hence foreign debt was always on a rise. And the burden of foreign debt servicing increased tremendously. In 1991, we have seen that 30% of the export was a part of foreign debt. So that was very bad condition of Indian economy, and India was almost on the edge of defaulting on its foreign lenders' claim. As a result, foreign exchange reserve of RBI almost dried up. The situation became so grave that then government of Chandrasekhar had to mortgage country's gold reserve with the World Bank to meet its foreign debt servicing obligations. So that was a very bad condition, and as a result of these, there was major crisis of foreign exchange in the Indian economy, which was an important cause of requirement of economic policy reform. The third cause is conditionalities imposed by IMF and World Bank. Yes, as I already told you all, IMF and World Bank was not allowing Indian economy to get more loans from them. Yes, since Indian economy was having huge crisis of foreign exchange, government of India was having only one option to borrow from IMF or World Bank. So it had to approach IMF and World Bank to tide over their crisis. And these institutions provide the much needed foreign exchange. Yes, they have provided, but on their own terms and conditions. And as a part of these conditions, India was required to make some changes. They had to cut down the fiscal deficit and the growth of money supply. They were also required to liberalize the domestic economy and to relax the restrictions on international flow of goods, services, capital, technology, etc. So, therefore, under the pressure of IMF and World Bank, Indian policymakers were almost pressurized to make several changes in the policy before they could obtain fresh credit from IMF and World Bank. And thus, these desperate conditions of 1990 and 1991 and the pressure of IMF and World Bank pushed India toward globalization. The last cause given over here is fall of USSR. What is USSR? Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. This, the USSR and the East European countries has become the major part of Indian consumer over the years. And at the end of 1990, political system of these countries collapsed. Now most of these countries became the market economy, and India had to open up trade with these and other countries on the basis of its ability to compete. Now it had to compete on the global market to retain its share of export. Now India had therefore to recognize and reorganize its own policy to preserve its share in the world market. So all these were the causes why Indian economy required economic reform in the 1991 year. Moving to the most important part of today's class, that is policy of liberalization. Yes, policy of liberalization forms an important part of the economic reform characterizing the new economic policy. What does it mean? Economic liberalization is a policy of deregulation of different segments of the economy. The word important here is deregulation. Now, it is the policy of doing away, or we can say that reducing the government controls over industries, investments, imports, foreign exchange, and other activities which existed before 1991. The objective of introducing this policy was to move from a regulated system to a new system where regulations were to be reduced and ultimately minimized. Different sectors of economy were to be freed from various types of controls, license, permits, etc. And Indian policymakers were not thinking of a policy of laissez-faire, that means completely unregulated economy, but of reduced regulation. It was believed that strengthening of the market force would steer the Indian economy into the path of growth and development. Here you can see a picture where different sectors are mentioned, like industrial sector reforms, financial sector reforms, tax reforms, foreign exchange reforms, and trade policy reforms. All these were the measures taken under the liberalization policy. Liberalization policy is an important policy which was presented in the budget of 1991 by then Finance Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, and he presented his path-breaking reformist budget in 1991 and did away with all the restrictions in a single stroke. And this changed the course of Indian history. And now we need to understand what were the features of this policy. There are 10 features given here. We'll discuss each one of them in detail. The very first feature of liberalization is delicensing. Yes, before 1991, there existed a regulatory system of licensing and controls. Industries which were covered under the system were required to be registered and were granted license by the government. The regulatory system of licensing and control became a hurdle in the industrial growth. Yes, it causes delays and was breeding corrupt practices as well. The industrial licensing policy had led to unnecessary government interference, which was not required. Because of that, delays in the investment decisions, bureaucratic red tapeism, etc. were done. And regulatory measures also created an inefficient, high cost and weak industrial sector. So there was a requirement of measures for licensing. In many cases, industrial policy of 1991 has made the licensing policy very liberal. The requirement of licensing was abolished for most of the industry except 5 important industries, for example, alcohol, cigarette, hazardous chemical, defense equipments, and industrial explosives. And this was done for security, strategic, and social environmental reasons. Now, entrepreneurs were free to enter the industry, trade, and business, and in many cases, licenses were no longer required to start a business, as was there in the previous case. The approval for getting new venture, including any change in the existing venture, is almost automatic now. The licensing procedure in other cases where they are still needed have been streamlined so that to remove the various irritants in the operation of the licensing system. So removal of licensing system has given a greater role in the market force. It was tremendous and it was affected the market very well. The second one, relaxation of controlling monopolies. Yes, under the MRTP Act, MRTP means monopolies and restrictive trade practices. All the firms with assets above a certain amount, that was in 85 it was 100 rupees, 100 crores, were permitted to enter selected industries only. They were required to take approval of the government for any investment proposal. Now, in order to make deregulation more effective, restrictions on functioning of these monopolies has been relaxed. Monopoly houses are no longer required to seek any prior government approval for expansion or establishment of their new industry. The emphasis have shifted now to controlling and regulating the monopolistic and restrictive unfair trade practice by taking action against the offenders so that safeguard of the interest consumer is there. So basically the monopolies are now allowed to intervene in any industry. The third one is industrial location policy liberalized. Yes, freedom has been given to industries to start their operation at all locations other than cities with more than 1 million population. There is no need of obtaining any kind of approval of the government except for the industry subject to compulsory licensing. There is no need of any kind of approval from the government. So that was a very good decision, because of that only many underdeveloped areas were developed, because it was not required to get approval from the government, and industries could be set over there. The fourth one is removal of restrictions on mergers. Yes, restrictions on mergers, takeovers, separation of industrial units, all are removed. Number 5 is liberalization of capital market. Capital market has been made free. Yes, a new company can be floated now with the in issuance of new shares and debentures without seeking any permission of the government. But there was SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India, and that has been set up as a watchdog for regulating the functioning of the capital market. That means now capital market is also free, anyone can invest anywhere. The next one is foreign exchange market reform. Yes, since Indian economy was having foreign exchange crisis, so reform in the foreign exchange market was also required. Foreign exchange rate means the rate at which one currency can be exchanged with other currency. So these reform has been introduced in the foreign exchange market. Previously there was fixed exchange rate system where the exchange rate was fixed by the central bank of a nation. Now flexible exchange rate has been introduced. What is flexible exchange rate system? Flexible exchange rate system is a system where the rate of exchange is fixed by the market. Yes, according to the demand and supply of the foreign currency, the exchange rate is being fixed by the market itself. Now, the RBI, that is the Reserve Bank of India, helps only to ensure that there are no extreme fluctuation in the exchange rate. And in 93-94, the rupee was made fully convertible into foreign currency on trade account. What does it mean? Full convertibility of rupee means any exporter can now convert the foreign currency earned by them into Indian rupee at the existing market rate, exchange rate. Similarly, importers can also now buy the foreign currency from the market at the existing market exchange rate. So, foreign exchange market is become very simple to deal with. Next is foreign trade reforms. As we have seen that import export was under crisis, so foreign trade policy was also changed in the liberalization. Tariff restrictions has been considerably relaxed. Tariff means a kind of tax imposed on the imported goods. So the policy of liberalization has led to freedom to import capital goods and technology. Import quotas has also have been abolished. Quota system means the quantitative restriction on the imports was also removed under liberalization policy. Number 8 is development of infrastructure. Now, private sectors has been allowed to enter to develop the infrastructure like power, roadways, communication, shipping, civil aviation, banking, etc. All these were previously not allowed to private sector. Now, under this liberalization policy, private sector is also allowed to do so. Number 9 is ease of doing business. Yes, the NDA government has taken a series of measures during the last 2 years to improve doing business in India. And as a part of this policy, existing rules regarding the various license and permissions needed for doing business in the country has been simplified. And this has created investment friendly environment in the Indian economy so that many investors can invest over here and they can also earn. At the same time, Indian employment will also increase. The last point includes other changes. Several other changes has been liberalized, such as liberalizing the control of RBI on commercial bank. Previously, RBI was controlling the commercial bank, but now the restrictions of RBI on different commercial banks has been reduced. Price decontrolling is also done, for example, in sugar and petroleum. This has also been adopted as a policy of liberalization. Banking sector reforms has led to a shift of the role of RBI from regulator to facilitator of the financial sector. Previously, RBI was regulating all the commercial bank, but now RBI is not regulating directly. Rather, it is guiding them. It is giving advice to them, and at the same time, it is a facilitator for the different financial sector institutions. All these 10 are the important features of liberalization policy. You can prepare each one of them properly. Moving to the last part, which is significance of liberalization policy. How much important is that, and what is its significance? The very first significance is this policy has tried to overcome the problem of control Raj. That means like corruption, uncalled delay, all these. The control of the government was there, which was not required to be there, and because of this liberalization policy, this control Raj, this policy, this negative impact of the government has been reduced, and as a result, many industries got the benefit of their expansion and licensing in a better way. The second impact is liberalization policy has provided freedom to the entrepreneur. Now, entrepreneurs are free to produce many commodities without any license. They are free to produce at many different places, locations, because that location policy also liberalized. So, freedom to the entrepreneurs is an important significance of liberalization policy. Then is liberalization policy has injected a spirit of competition in the economic system and has encouraged the entrepreneurs to undertake investment. Since now the impact of this policy is liberal, as a result there is liberalization in capital market as well, foreign exchange market as well. So investors can easily invest in India, and that will lead to encouragement to the producers, to the entrepreneurs to undertake the investment, and their efficiency in the economy will also increase. So this was an also important implication of liberalization policy. These three are the most important implications of liberalization policy. Now, till here we have completed the meaning of liberalization policy, requirement, causes of need for the economic policy reforms, and the main features of this liberalization policy, and we concluded with significance of liberalization policy in India, more importantly in Indian economy. After this, we have two more important part of the chapter, which is privatization and globalization. In case of privatization, we will discuss about the policy of privatization, its negative and positive impacts, and its impact on Indian economy as well, and what are the features of this policy. Similarly, globalization, which is always the objective of everyone, like we also want to be to get the global recognition. So globalization, which is the ultimate outcome, ultimate objective, we will discuss the effects of globalization, features of globalization, and basically more impact of globalization policy in Indian industries. So then we will complete this chapter in our other part. Today, for this today's tutorial, this was enough. We will not discuss anything else for this particular video. I hope everyone is doing well and completing their assignments properly. One more quiz I have added with this particular video in your app, so you can quickly go through the video and respond to your quiz, so that if you have problem in first response, you can do it again. Immediately you will get your result after giving the first response. So do that properly. And the other chapters which we have discussed till now, keep yourself updated with all those chapters. If you have any particular doubt, you can inform me, you can mail me. You all have my email ID. or you can ask in the live classes. We are having live classes regularly, twice in a week. So don't keep any doubt with yourself. Clear your doubt and prepare yourself. Thank you, children. All the best. Stay healthy, stay safe.